Hey, welcome back to Kindle English Podcast. I'm Hazel.
And I'm Finn. Good to have you with us, wherever you're listening from. The bus, the gym, the kitchen sink.
Okay, so here's a question for you before we even get started. How many English words do you think you've tried to memorize in your life? Like, actually sat down with flashcards or an app and tried to shove into your brain?
Oh no, don't make me think about this.
1,000? 5,000?
Honestly, probably more than I want to admit. I had this whole notebook in university, pages and pages of words I learned.
And here's the thing. Most of those words are gone now, right? You couldn't even tell me half of them.
Yeah, painfully accurate.
So today, we're talking about something that I think is going to genuinely change how some of you study. We're calling it Stop Memorizing Vocabulary, Do This Instead.
Okay, I'm listening because I feel personally attacked already.
We've been having so much fun lately just talking through real, everyday English, the way people actually use it, not the textbook version, and I think this topic fits right into that.
Right, no more of the pen is on the table. Nobody's ever said that sentence in real life.
Nobody, ever. And honestly, if you're new here, if this is your first time hanging out with us, hit that subscribe button because we do this every week. Real conversations, real English, no boring grammar drills.
And if today's episode helps even a little, share it with somebody who's stuck doing the flashcard grind. They'll thank you.
So here's where it starts for me. I was talking to a friend of mine. She's been learning Korean for about 2 years, and she told me she had memorized something like 3,000 words using an app.
3,000? That's a lot.
Right? But then she went to Seoul, ordered food at a restaurant, and completely froze. Couldn't say a sentence. Not one.
Oh, that's brutal. But also, so relatable.
And that's the trap. You can know thousands of words and still not be able to hold a conversation because words sitting alone in your memory, disconnected from anything, they don't stick the way you think they will. They're not retrievable in the moment you need them.
Okay, so what's the alternative? Because I feel like everyone's been told memorize vocabulary since like middle school.
The alternative is learning words inside real context, stories, conversations, situations, so your brain attaches the word to something meaningful instead of just a translation on a card.
Okay, give me an example, because right now this sounds a little abstract.
Sure, take the phrase to wing it. If I just show you a flashcard that says wing it equals improvise, you might remember it for a day, maybe.
Maybe.
But if I tell you a story, like last week I had this presentation at work and my laptop died 5 minutes before I went on and I just had to wing it. Suddenly, wing it is attached to a real moment. A little bit of panic, a little bit of pride afterward.
Huh, wing it. I like that. So basically you're saying context creates the glue.
Exactly. Context is the glue.
Okay, but can I push back a little here? Flashcards aren't useless, right? I mean, people build whole study systems around them.
No, you're right. They're not useless. I don't want anyone to think we're saying burn your flashcards. They're a tool. The problem is when they're the only tool.
Why though? What's actually happening in the brain?
So from what I understand, and again, I'm not a neuroscientist, I just read a lot about this stuff, your brain treats isolated facts very differently than it treats stories or experiences. Isolated facts get filed away kind of loosely. Stories get filed away with emotion, sequence, sensory detail, way more hooks to pull them back out later.
That actually makes sense. Like, I can't remember what I had for lunch 3 days ago, but I can tell you exactly what happened on my first day of work 8 years ago.
Yes, exactly that. Because that first day had emotion attached. Nerves, maybe excitement, maybe embarrassment.
Oh, there was embarrassment. I called my new boss by the wrong name for an entire week.
Wait, what? You never told me this.
I'm telling you now. Her name was Donna. I called her Diana. The whole week. Somebody finally pulled me aside.
Okay, but that's a perfect example. You're never gonna forget Donna's name again, are you?
Never. Burned into my memory forever.
Right, because it's attached to a story, a little bit of shame, a little bit of relief when it got fixed. That's exactly how vocabulary should work. Not, here's a word, memorize it, but here's a moment where this word matters.
Okay, so practically, what does that look like for someone studying alone without a co-host to embarrass themselves on a podcast?
A few things. First, learn words inside sentences you'll actually use, not isolated translations. Second, attach a tiny personal story or image to each one, even a silly one. And third, this is big, use the word out loud within the same day you learn it.
Out loud? Like talking to yourself?
Yes, talking to your mirror, talking to your dog, talking to your coffee maker. I don't care. Speaking activates a totally different part of your memory than just reading.
My dog has heard some really weird English sentences because of stuff like this, honestly.
As he should.
Let me think about this for a second because I want to make sure I'm getting this right. So you're saying the issue with apps isn't the app itself, it's using them as your only method.
Right. Apps are great for review, for spaced repetition, for testing yourself. But the actual learning, the first time a word gets into your head, that needs context.
Can we talk about how this even works for native speakers? Because nobody sat me down with flashcards for my first language.
Right, that's such a good point to bring up. Think about how a kid learns the word disappointed. Nobody gives them a definition card. They hear it in a real moment. Maybe their birthday plans get canceled and a parent says, "I know you're disappointed, sweetheart."
That's kind of touching, actually.
And now disappointed is forever connected to that exact feeling, that exact tone of voice. The kid doesn't memorize a definition. They absorb meaning through emotion and context.
Okay, but adults can't exactly recreate childhood for every word, right? Like, I can't go relive my birthday being canceled just to learn disappointed.
No, fair. But you can fake it a little. You can imagine a specific vivid scenario, or even better, notice it when it happens naturally in your real life and immediately attach the English word to it.
Okay, let's actually try this live. Give me a word.
All right. Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Okay, so like, last month, my sister visited for the holidays with her 3 kids, and my apartment is tiny. And by day 2, I genuinely felt overwhelmed. Like too much noise, too many things happening at once.
See? That's it. That's the whole method. You just taught yourself overwhelmed better in 15 seconds than a flashcard could in a week.
I'm a genius.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Too late.
But seriously, this is something learners in Japan and Korea especially run into a lot because the study culture there is so exam-focused. You grow up memorizing huge word lists for tests, and that skill set is amazing for passing tests, but it doesn't always transfer to speaking fluently in a real conversation.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people. Same with some of our listeners in Vietnam. Really strong reading and writing, but speaking feels like a totally separate skill they haven't built yet.
Exactly. And that's not a flaw in the learner. It's a flaw in the method. If you train for a test, you get good at the test. If you train for conversation, you get good at conversation.
So how would you actually restructure your studying if you've been a memorized a list person your whole life?
Start small. Instead of learning 50 words a day from a list, learn 5 words a day from something you actually read or watched, a show, an article, a conversation like this one, and write 1 sentence about your own life using each word.
1 sentence, that's it.
1 real, true sentence about your actual life. That's the whole assignment.
Can we zoom out a little? I'm curious how this differs across countries, because I feel like vocabulary obsession isn't the same everywhere.
It's interesting. From what I've picked up talking to people, in the US, a lot of casual learners actually go too far the other direction. They avoid structured vocabulary work completely and just try to absorb English from movies, which is great for listening, but sometimes leaves gaps in their active vocabulary, words they understand but can't produce.
Wait, really? I'd have guessed Americans don't think about this at all, since English is just there for them.
No, I mean for English learners living in the US, trying to integrate. They pick up slang fast from daily life, but sometimes struggle with more formal or precise vocabulary because nobody's teaching them, they're just absorbing.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the UK?
In the UK, I've noticed, and this might be a generalization, there's a strong culture of learning through reading. Lots of UK-based English programs lean heavily on literature and newspapers, which builds incredible vocabulary range, but sometimes at the expense of natural spoken rhythm.
So someone could come out sounding like they're reading from The Guardian instead of just chatting.
Kind of, yeah. A little too formal for a coffee shop conversation.
What about somewhere like Australia?
Australia is interesting because the culture there is just so relaxed and informal that English learners who move there often pick up vocabulary almost entirely through socializing, at the pub, at the beach, at work, less structured, way more conversational.
Honestly, that sounds kind of ideal.
It has its perks, though good luck understanding Australian slang on day 1. Arvo, servo, thongs, that's a whole different vocabulary lesson.
Wait, thongs means flip-flops there, right? That confused me so much the first time I heard it.
Yes, classic mix-up. That's exactly why context matters. If you just memorized thongs from a dictionary without the cultural context, you'd be very confused in an Australian shoe store.
Noted, very noted.
And in Canada, I'd say it's kind of a blend. A bit of the UK's reading culture, a bit of the US's informal absorption style, plus this very specific Canadian politeness vocabulary. Lots of softening language. Sorry, no worries. I was just wondering if maybe.
Softening language. Can you say more about that? That actually connects to something I wanted to bring up.
Perfect timing, because that's actually one of our practical tips for today. Okay, so here's the thing nobody talks about when it comes to vocabulary. It's not just about knowing words, it's about knowing how to soften, hedge, and keep a conversation alive using the words you already have.
Give me an example of softening.
So if I disagree with you, I'm probably not going to say, no, you're wrong. I'd say something like, I see what you mean, but have you thought about it this way?
See how you didn't just say, no, you're wrong? You softened it. That's what keeps it friendly.
Exactly. And that little phrase, have you thought about it this way, is honestly more useful to memorize in context than 100 random nouns, because you'll use it constantly.
Okay, what about starting a conversation? That's the part that terrifies most learners in my experience.
A few go-to openers that always work. Hey, how's your day going? This might sound random, or even just commenting on the shared situation. This line is taking forever, huh?
Oh, this line is taking for everyone is so universal. Works in every country I've ever been to.
Complaining about waiting is basically a universal human bonding activity.
Truly. Okay, what about when you blank, like you're mid-sentence and you just lose the word?
That's where filler phrases save you. Let me think. What's the word for it? You know, the thing where these buy you time without the conversation falling apart.
Oh my gosh, I wish someone had told me that years ago. I used to just go silent and panic, and the other person would think I was upset or something.
That's such a common mistake, actually. Total silence instead of a filler phrase. The fix is so simple. Just say, hold on, let me think for a second, instead of going quiet. It keeps the conversation feeling alive, even while your brain catches up.
Okay. What about keeping a conversation going? Like after someone answers, what's next?
Follow-up questions. If someone says, I went hiking this weekend, don't just say, cool. Ask, oh nice, where'd you go? Or was the weather good for it? Specific follow-ups show you're actually listening, and they keep the conversation rolling instead of dying after one exchange.
Okay, let's actually practice all of this. Live roleplay right now.
Let's do it. Okay, Finn, you're the barista. I just walked into a coffee shop.
Morning. What can I get started for you?
Hi, could I get a small oat milk latte? And is it okay if I sit by the window? It's kind of crowded today.
Of course. Take any seat you like. That'll be ready in just a few minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
See? Polite, simple, done. Nobody's grading your grammar in a coffee shop.
Exactly. And notice, I didn't use one fancy vocabulary word in that whole exchange. Just clear, natural, polite English.
Which kind of proves your whole point, actually. Fluency isn't about big words. It's about using the right small words at the right moment.
Can I tell you a story that I think really sums this whole episode up?
Please.
So, a friend of mine, she's originally from Hanoi, moved to Toronto a few years back. She told me she spent literally years memorizing word lists in school, thousands of words. She could pass any vocabulary test you put in front of her.
Okay.
And then she gets to Toronto, and her very first week, she's standing in line at a grocery store, and the cashier asks her, "Did you find everything all right?" Just a simple, normal question.
And
she froze completely. Not because she didn't know the words find, everything, or all right. She knew every single one of those words individually, but she'd never heard them put together in that exact casual, real-life way. It wasn't on any list.
Oh, that's such a specific kind of frustrating. Like you have all the ingredients, but you don't know the recipe.
That's such a good way to put it. You have all the ingredients, but not the recipe. That's exactly the problem with pure memorization. You collect words, but you don't collect the patterns they actually travel in.
So it changed for her.
She told me she started doing something really simple. Every single day, she'd pick one real interaction from her day, write it down exactly as it happened, and then practice saying it out loud a few times. Not made-up sentences, real ones.
So instead of "the cat sat on the mat," it was literally "did you find everything all right?" because that's what actually happened to her.
Exactly. And within a few months, she said conversations stopped feeling like translation puzzles and started feeling like just talking.
That's honestly kind of beautiful. Small daily habit, real material, and it adds up.
It really does. And I think that's the heart of today's whole episode. Stop trying to swallow the dictionary whole. Collect real moments instead.
Okay, let's get practical again. What are the actual mistakes you see learners making over and over with vocabulary?
Mistake number 1, and this is huge. Learning words without their natural partners. Like learning make and do separately instead of learning make a decision versus do your homework as full chunks. It sounds like a small distinction, but it's the difference between sounding natural and sounding like you're translating in your head word by word.
Oh, the make versus do thing trips up so many learners. I've heard that mix up constantly.
Constantly. Because English collocations, which words naturally go together, aren't logical. They're just habit. You can't reason your way to them. You have to absorb them as chunks.
What's mistake 2?
Translating word for word from your native language instead of learning the English phrase as its own unit. Like in some languages, the literal translation of I have hunger makes sense. But in English, you just say, I'm hungry.
I definitely did this constantly when I was learning Spanish. I'd built these very logical sentences that just sounded completely wrong to native speakers.
It happens to everyone in every language in both directions.
Mistake 3.
Never speaking the words out loud. People recognize a word when they read it, feel confident, and then completely blank when they try to say it in conversation, because reading recognition and speaking production are honestly almost 2 different skills.
That actually explains so much. I can read a novel in Spanish pretty comfortably, but the second I try to have a fast conversation, it's like my brain just locks up.
Right, because you built reading muscles, not speaking muscles. They're related, but they're not the same.
Okay, last one. Mistake 4?
Studying too many words at once and reviewing none of them properly. People get excited, learn 50 new words in one session, and then never see 8 of those words again for 6 months. By then, they're gone.
Quality over quantity, basically.
Exactly. 5 words deeply learned, used in real sentences, reviewed a few times. That beats 50 words skimmed once, every single time.
Okay, so let's build something practical here. If someone's listening right now and they're like, okay, I'm convinced, flashcards alone aren't enough, what do they actually do starting tomorrow?
Step 1. Keep a tiny notebook, physical or digital, but instead of word definition, you write word, the real sentence where I heard or used it. Context first, always.
Can you walk me through what an actual page in your notebook looks like? I'm trying to picture this.
Sure. So today, for example, my page might say, frazzled. By the time I finished cooking dinner and answering 3 work emails, I was completely frazzled. That's it. 1 real sentence, 1 real moment.
No definition at all?
Sometimes a quick 2-word note in the margin, like equals exhausted, stressed, just so I don't completely lose the meaning if I forget. But the sentence is the main event, not the definition.
That's such a small shift, but I can already tell it changes how you'd review it later. You're not staring at a dry definition, you're reading a tiny story about your own day.
Exactly. And that's honestly the whole secret. People think vocabulary study has to feel like studying. It doesn't. It can feel like keeping a small, messy diary that happens to teach you English along the way.
What's step 2?
Step 2. Say it out loud at least 3 times in the same day you learn it. Doesn't matter to who. Talk to your reflection, your pet, your steering wheel.
My car has heard some really strange vocabulary practice over the years.
Mine too, honestly. Step 3. Try to use the word again within the next 24 to 48 hours, even if you have to force it a little into a conversation or a text message.
What if there's no natural opportunity to use it?
Create one. Text a friend something slightly random. Hey, random question, but have you ever felt completely overwhelmed during the holidays? Boom. You just used the word in a real, if slightly engineered situation.
That's almost sneaky.
A little bit, yeah. Step 4, and I think this is underrated. Revisit your notebook once a week. Not to memorize again, but just to read your own sentences back and remember the moments.
Because the moments are what made it stick in the first place.
Exactly. You're not reviewing words. You're reviewing your own life in English.
Okay, I have to say, that reframes the whole thing for me. It's less like studying and more like journaling almost.
That's such a good way to put it. Vocabulary as journaling, not vocabulary as memorization.
I do want to be fair here though. Are there situations where straight memorization is actually fine? Like exam prep?
Honestly, totally fair point. And yes, if you're cramming for something like TOEFL or IELTS next week, sure, brute force memorization of likely vocabulary lists can boost your score short term.
So it's not never memorize, it's don't only memorize.
Exactly that. Think of memorization as a sprint tool and context-based learning as the long-distance, lifelong tool. You might sprint before a test, but if you want English you can actually use 10 years from now, the context method is what builds that.
That's a really helpful distinction, actually, because I think a lot of learners feel guilty, like they're doing it wrong if they ever use flashcards.
No guilt needed. Flashcards are a hammer, useful for certain nails. Just don't try to build an entire house with only a hammer.
I love that you just gave me a useful metaphor and a vocabulary lesson at the same time.
2 for 1. That's the Kindle English Podcast special.
Can we talk pronunciation for a second? Because even when people do learn a word in context, sometimes they say it completely differently than how it actually sounds.
Oh, absolutely. This happens all the time. Take comfortable. It's not come for table. It's more like comfortable. 3 syllables, not 4.
Wait, say that again?
Comfortable. I genuinely didn't realize how often native speakers compress that word until someone pointed it out to me.
Okay, what's another one?
Wednesday. Looks like it should be Wednesday, but it's really just Wednesday. That silent D trips up basically everyone.
I genuinely thought that was a typo the first time I saw it written out phonetically.
Nope, very real. And one more, quinoa. It's quinoa, not quinoa. I embarrassed myself learning that one at a restaurant, actually. Said it wrong in front of the whole table.
Oh no, what happened?
The waiter just gently corrected me very kindly, and I wanted to disappear into my chair.
We've all been there. I once mispronounced epitome for years because I'd only ever read it, never heard it out loud.
How were you saying it?
Epitome, like with the hard tome at the end. Found out in front of coworkers that it's actually epitome.
Oh, that's a rough one to learn publicly.
Brutal. But honestly, it never happened again after that. Public embarrassment is a surprisingly effective teacher.
Which loops right back to our whole point today. Emotional, memorable moments are what actually lock vocabulary into your brain, even the embarrassing ones.
Does this context-based approach work the same for everyone? I feel like people learn so differently.
Good question. I'd say the core principle, context over isolation, applies universally, but how you build that context can flex depending on your style. If you're a visual learner, maybe you attach images or even little doodles to your sentences.
What about auditory learners?
For auditory learners, recording yourself saying the sentence out loud and listening back works really well. You basically become your own teacher.
What about people who learn best by doing, by being active?
Role play, exactly like we did earlier with the coffee shop. Acting out little scenes, even alone in your room, talking to an imaginary barista, works surprisingly well for kinesthetic learners.
I feel like I need to clarify for any new listeners, we are not exaggerating when we say talk to yourself. It actually works.
It really does. I do it constantly, and I'm not even a little embarrassed about it anymore.
What about people who are more analytical, who like patterns and structure?
For analytical learners, I'd suggest grouping your living vocabulary by theme or situation, like a page for restaurant English, a page for small talk, a page for work English. So the structure itself becomes a kind of map you can navigate.
That's smart. Gives you the structure you crave, but still rooted in real context instead of random lists.
Exactly. Best of both worlds.
What if someone genuinely doesn't know which style fits them best?
Honestly, try a little of everything for a week. Write a sentence, say it out loud, doodle something silly next to it, group a few by theme. You'll naturally notice which version you keep coming back to without forcing yourself.
So basically, treat it like sampling dishes at a buffet instead of committing to one restaurant forever.
That's a surprisingly good metaphor for vocabulary study, honestly.
I have my moments.
Can I get a little sincere for a second?
Of course.
I think one of the hardest parts about this whole journey isn't even the method, it's the patience it takes. Context-based learning feels slower at first. You're not racking up huge numbers like, I learned 200 words this week. It's quieter progress.
Yeah, that's true. It's less flashy.
But quiet progress is still progress. And honestly, I think a lot of learners give up not because the method doesn't work, but because they expect it to feel fluent faster, and when they don't, they assume they're failing.
That's such an important thing to say out loud. I think almost every learner I've ever talked to has felt that exact frustration at some point.
So if that's you listening right now, if you've been hard on yourself for not memorizing fast enough or for forgetting words you swore you knew, please be a little gentler with yourself. You're not broken. You probably just need a different method, not more willpower.
Can I add something to that? I think there's also this weird comparison trap people fall into, like watching someone else seem to learn faster and assuming something's wrong with their own brain.
Oh, that's so real. But everyone's starting point is different. How much exposure you've had, how similar your first language is to English, how much free time you actually have for studying. Comparing your week 3 to someone else's year 3 is never going to feel fair.
Right, and honestly, even within this method, the story-based, context-first approach, some days you'll learn 3 words deeply, and some days you'll barely manage 1 because life gets busy, and that's completely fine.
It really is. The goal was never to win a race. It's to be able to order coffee without freezing, to have a real conversation with a coworker, to understand a joke your friend makes. Small human moments. That's what fluency actually feels like day to day. Not a trophy, just ease.
Ease. I like that word for it. That's a really nice way to end this part of the conversation, honestly.
I mean it. Every single person listening right now has already proven they can learn a language. They did it once with their first one. This is just a different road to the same destination.
Okay, let's recap a little, because we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. So, big picture, memorizing isolated vocabulary lists alone doesn't build real conversational fluency because your brain holds on to stories and emotional context way better than it holds on to flashcards.
And the fix isn't to throw away every study tool you have. It's to anchor new words in real sentences, real stories, and real situations from your own life.
Plus, say it out loud multiple times, even to your dog, your car, your bathroom mirror, wherever.
Don't forget the coffee shop role play. Polite, simple, done. Nobody's grading your grammar.
And remember those softening phrases like, I see what you mean, but... Those small, flexible chunks of language genuinely carry more conversational weight than another 50 nouns ever will.
Quality over quantity. 5 words deeply learned beats 50 words skimmed once and forgotten by the weekend.
And be patient. Overwhelmed, comfortable, wing it. These aren't just words anymore for you now. They're moments. That's the whole shift we're hoping happens today.
I genuinely think this is one of those episodes people are going to want to come back to just to refresh the mindset.
Before we wrap up, we always like to give you a little hint about what's coming next.
Without giving too much away, let's just say we've been talking about doing something around the kinds of small, everyday conversations that catch people off guard. The ones where you technically know the words, but the moment still feels awkward.
Yeah, I think that one's going to resonate with a lot of you, especially if today's episode hit home.
So keep an eye out for that one. It's going to pair really nicely with everything we talked about today.
We love building these episodes around what actually helps you in daily life, not just what sounds impressive in a textbook. All right, let's bring it home. Today, we talked about ditching the flashcard-only approach, building a living vocabulary from your real life, softening your disagreements so conversations stay friendly, and using filler phrases like, let me think for a second, instead of going silent.
And honestly, just be a little kinder to yourself in this process. Progress that's quiet is still real progress.
This has been such a fun one to talk through with you, Finn.
Same here, Hazel. I think I'm going to go bother my dog with some new vocabulary tonight.
He's a very patient listener.
The best in the business.
Thank you all so much for spending this time with us. On Kindle English Podcast, this is genuinely one of our favorite topics to dig into because it's something every single one of you can use literally today.
If this helped, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and send it to a friend who's still drowning in flashcards.
We'll see you in the next episode.
And remember, don't memorize it, live it.